So everyone sitting here, we all coming from the same source. Someone would like to say, well, I am God, I am that, you know, that is total misunderstanding too. That is the ego from the regions, the mind and beyond, so to speak, in that sense. But give me a secret. How do I do this? Well, you go within, you take your physical form, and you go within, in the center, right between the ears, you know, right in the center of the brain. First, you have to find the real center. Some will say, oh, it's a pituitary gland, you know, I'm going to go from there, you know, and this and that. Or pineal gland, you know, look like a pine cone, and this whole story. You have to find out where you really reside and go within. And then when you awaken from dream, within the dream, you go into your astral form again in the center. Just like you go astral form, it's still, it's kind of cool. You have arms and legs, you know, in the astral form still, kind of. Of course, you can't just walk, you know, you fly there because the gravity generated by Muladhara chakra here in this gross body, it gives you gravity, so you have to walk, you know, make sure your knees are good. But in the astral, there's no Muladhara chakra creating gravity there, so you just fly. But you can imagine that it's like a sparkling form, but it's still represent like kind of like a form here. So you go within that head, so to speak, again, and then you work in your causal form. Of course, in the causal form, you don't have arms and legs, you don't have a head and body, you know, that's a totally different. And so you go in and that's the simplest way I can give you, but I can tell you that unless you're the perfect living master, you will not be able to go through the specific gates. You only deal with the 10th gate, what we call the spiritual eye, go into the astral region and so forth. Only master, perfect master can take you through 11 and 12 gate. 11 being the one between the Brahmanda and Parabrahmanda, and the 12 being between there's a very small proximity there of Vanvargufa to Sataloka. We never cross it. Never. It's impossible. Take my word or not. So most yoga system on the cross is able to go through this 10th gate. And that's where all the heavens and all the Brahmandas, all these beings and all that, you know, Lord Krishna, all of that, Lord Brahma. But they are still within the mind and they are all subject to reincarnation. That's the story of the ruler of the mental region, right? He had to reincarnate. Even that soul, that surat, prayed that role, has to still reincarnate in a gross as the ant. This is the story of Krishna and Udo. Krishna and Udo, they're working on the road, you know. They were cow herders, you know, for the village, you know, they didn't have a complicated job. And Udo was his, you know, Krishna's friend, childhood friend. And Krishna said, look, Udo, do you see that ant crawling there? This is the Brahma, you know, this is Brah, the ruler of all the worlds within the ego of Brahma. But even he is still under the law of karma and had to be reincarnated as an ant. And that is true, because this is all still within the mind. 100% all the conceptions you have right now, they're purely in the mind. Once you step outside of the mind, and the mind will never help you with that, because there's like a self-preservation. Mind will hold you back. We'll come up with thousands of different tricks, hundreds of different gurus. They will hold you in, consciously or unconsciously. Excuse me. By the way, this is the reason I wasn't planning to talk about this at all, actually. I was planning to be, let's be happy, you know, celebrate. So when I said that Mr. Puri was spiritual giant, he was the Param Sadguru to me, in my experience. And the Param Sadguru has to reveal himself before he leaves his physical form to someone. Could be one person, could be you, could be to initiate, you know, could be to more than one person maybe, but this is very rare. They have to fulfill that, otherwise they cannot leave. So Mr. Puri, he was so happy, you know, almost 2 years ago. Yeah. And he made those arrangements in the beginning of January. And this is not the dream I'm speaking of. This is not like I'm just make this up or read in the newspaper or somebody told me. No, I was physically present now with him when this happened. And the Great Master. So I can give you experience. For example, we were sitting eating pizza. It was Mr. Puri, Grace, I, and someone else. I cannot tell you who that someone else is. I cannot give you a name for privacy. So we're talking about all this, and Mr. Puri says, look, here's the Great Master. He's standing here and laughing. This type of scenarios, these are very rare, only for very few in that sense, you know. And when I speak about, most would think I'm crazy. What are you talking about? But Master was there. Mr. Puri was there. I and Grace and Great Master and one more person. I can tell you know. I mean, experiences like that. And we had the tons of experiences with him. And if anybody would like to share, because the reason I spoke about this chakras and so forth is because of you, okay? Otherwise, I will even go to, because we spoke about that, but just to give you a little bit idea on all these different parts. You know, this part of heart, there are four major parts of the Anand Yoga will be the highest one, which deals with spirituality, you know, and there are some aspects of it which are not represented in other yoga system. For example, your yoga system, there's representation outside. That could be a sculpture, you know, the rest. And there can be representation for meditation in your group, and can be representation even for more spiritual, for those who are even more spiritually inclined, different maybe form of meditation going within. But this is all mind. And Suchab Yoga is something totally different. Even simply when you deal with the nadis or all these different parts, you know, all these nerves, you know, they're like a very thin, like a horse's tail one. These are very, very sudden, interesting. All the centers, they not even never disclose to you when they're located. You know, unless you really with the perfectly master, you don't even know where they are. When I was with Mr. Puri, me and Grace, we spoke about this. I mean, I literally spoke about this, about the centers and beyond. And he was saying, you know what? Not many people know about that. He said, Cezary, not many people know about this. And we were speaking about it. But I never heard him openly to say that. This was purely, this was my first satsang. In February 2020, I had the first satsang. The master was sitting right next to me here, listening. Very special group of people. No one knows who they are. I cannot even disclose who they are. Pranay maybe no, but keep your mouth shut. Never open your mouth about that. So, would you like to say something, Pranay? Yeah. Because I can be talking, last satsang was 7.5 hours. We were talking non-stop, sharing all kind of stories. I was with Mr. Puri, in Las Vegas in this theater, watching the magic show, on the stage, a very famous magic show. And we were sitting, Mr. Puri was sitting, and I think second row, just me and him. Grace and Toshi, they were somewhere in the back, right? So this man is performing this different magic, and Mr. Puri said, give me kind of like, if I know how this is done. And I figure out later how he is doing it, this trick. What was that? Guinea pig, a little guinea pig. The magician was doing this trick. So very good magician in Las Vegas for 2 decades or so.
Every time they went in,
they were
seeing him 50 times.
So I'm sitting with Master. We're watching the show, and the seats are like very close, And these are these people, and we're sitting like on the side, and there's like people trying to go into middle. And I'm with the Master, and his knees, the artificial knees and all that. And these people just like trying to, push themselves across of us. And Master was just like sitting. But this young girl walking and was just like looking at him, He was just like looking at her, happy. So if you only knew. I seen him in a situation like we will be sitting, and he would just look at someone, like literally. And I see that person looking at the Master. It's amazing things we witness, And I was once with him, and I was carrying this. I don't know. Maybe that's enough. I'll tell him the story. I don't want to go into that story, but tell him like. We were on the same floor in Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. And we said, okay, we're going to meet next because we had to go to different hotel. So we had to meet in the morning, right? The Master, he has separate suite, and we had a separate. And I was just waiting by the elevators, and I'm looking at Grace. I said, Grace, Master's going to come out. So Grace went there, and Master is coming out with all this huge luggage, right? And he's just like walking, pulling that. 93 years old, right? And Grace said, Master, you forgot your cane. Oh yeah, I forgot my cane, because most people only saw him like limping with the cane, But I saw him I saw him move objects with the palm of his hand, which I could barely move. Literally. And I don't want to go into it because. So, and then he explained to us that thanks to the great Master, he has a strength. He said 10 people could not do it what I do, he said. 10 people. And he really proved it to me, even that, how strong he was. I was just like struggling, and he was just like, oh, just like this, So he was not an average guru in that sense.
Did you witness?
Huh?
Did you ever witness Master curing people?
Curing?
With the disease?
Curing people?
Yeah, like.
There's no curing on this path. It's not the part of Sutra Yoga. Perfect Living Master will never do that. This is not his role. The perfect Master's role is simply to take the soul back to its home. And he works outside of the mind. The way the process is, he works within the mind, is totally different process, and very few understand that, how that works.
How would you connect with the Jesus security?
Huh?
So I was kind of curious, Jesus would, you said moving with the palm. So I was kind
No,
of.
no, I'm talking about master. I'm not talking about Jesus.
No, I don't know, best, you mentioned about master was a moving object with.
Yeah,
the palm.
right in front of me,
Yeah,
yes.
so it kind of reminded me that, when I was young, Bible study, Jesus rose people who's dead or sick.
Yeah, that is the
How
story.
would you connect
There's,
with
there-
that?
there's no connection.
No connection.
No connection to this story of Jesus and Lazarus and all that.
The Christmas is.
I don't want to even go into it because I'm going to get in trouble if I tell you that's the truth. I mean, most people will not accept that. The Christ, Krishna, Christos, all this, go to, I mean, we're speaking about something, this is not the time to speak about that. But the perfect living masters are not the masters like you will think Jesus maybe was, or Christ, or most people think that I don't want to go there because I'm on the record. I don't want to say this. I may upset too many people. No, there's no comparing. There's no comparing perfect living master to Buddha consciousness. There's no comparing to Krishna consciousness. None of that. This is totally different consciousness. And perfect living masters do not perform miracles. They're just like everyone else. They look the same. They have health issues, maybe knee or anything like that. They get old. They have a mind. All this belongs to the mind. This body belongs to the mind, belongs to Kalnaranjan. All of it, in my astral form and my mind too. So it's yours. These concepts are very hard to understand because Kal and Akal. Most people don't understand this concept of the two sides of the same coin. So they will say they become so preoccupied by Kal, they will call that negative force, like, oh, this is the master. Let's say I'm going for interview, right? Let's say I go to, when Mr. Puri was alive, I will go to, let's say someone goes to interview and they're in front of the master. But somehow in the mind, they think the Kal is just hiding somewhere outside behind the trees, for the time being, when you're with the master. This is not how it works. Everything here belongs to, they call it negative force or power or Kal or time. Time creating space, space creating time. To that negative power, everything. Your body, everything. Your mind, my mind. The masters are no different. The difference is the awareness, the consciousness. For example, P times I, everyone sitting here, we have an awareness of this word here. Because our attention or surat is focused on this. So this is what we experience. Now we can go within and go to the next region, which is the astral region, or Anda, and the experience will be totally different. But we all will be focused on that. We will look at the physical as something else. The masters, the difference between the master, he's aware of all these different regions, like pancakes. But these are not pancakes, they're just a representation. They are within. The more you go within, okay, we think that this is so great. We have a skies, we have a Milky Galaxy and all that. And we think there's something beyond, but it doesn't work like that. The consciousness is not working like this. But anyway, the more you go within, the more expansion there is, even with the regions of mind. There could be 1 trillion times larger than this whole universe. You can even think of it, perceive. And they are within. This is something, something you cannot explain. How can I go within? 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 and experience something more vast than this. And inside. So this mind has a lot of problems. It's just like if I look at the tree, was the tree before, or does it come in existence when I'm looking at the tree? The consciousness, the surat having attention. It's both. It's like if you sit in some house and there are many rooms, and you think there's someone in another room, but there's no one there. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, your consciousness think there's someone in that room, but there's no one there. Now, when you open the door, you walk into the room, there's someone sitting there. This is a very hard concept to understand. When you leave this state of awareness, okay, the surah, the soul, the regions of mind, the astral, and the gross, pinned. So the surat goes to Vanvar Gufa, it's like a whirlpool. It's pulled in, like when you have in the bathtub, the whirlpool, the water, so it's pulled in. It's not the soul, it's a tension faculty. It's pulled in and has experience through all these different centers. And the physical form has a representation of 18. All these regions are represented in the gross form, but they also represented in the inner forms. So when you tap into those, you're not just drilling a hole in a skull somewhere here, you go into the inner bodies, those centers are represented. So Surat comes in and encounters the chakra, let's say, right? Or the vortex. And its attention is on it, and that's where the whole experience is. And it goes through these different bodies. In the case of the perfect living, so it's like although Surat has attention on all of it, but you experience only one at a time. Just like a veil. We cannot even remember our past lives. When you go to the astral region, you can see all your past lives. The astral body, the life is about 3,000 human years.
Is that called Akashic records?
Huh?
Is that something?
No, Akashic records, they call Akasha, that's the sky of the Trikuti. That is the sky of the mind and the causal mind region. They call these Akashic records that everything is written in them. These are metaphors. Please understand that when the master speaks about these experiences, there are tall trees with the rubies and diamonds on it, right? You can see. These are all metaphors. The real experiences are the experiences of the vortexes within the mind. It's a total misunderstanding. So there are many who says, I had this experience, or I had that experience, and they take them for real. They are nothing real about them. These are all projections within the mind. So the perfect living master, his role is not to give you more of those. His simple role is to take you back home. His role is not to cure you, make your body healthy, make you rich. He has zero concerns about that.
Can you read someone like, say I'm sitting with the master, and then can he know?
He knows everything. In fact, I was sitting with him in the grace. Right? He was there, right there. And we're sitting and we're laughing. Master, we had the greatest time. We were laughing and incredible. He really knew how to arrange good time for you. The best hotels, the best shows, everything. But I was sitting with him. What was that? What was it? Harach or somewhere? That place. But anyway, we were sitting, and it was just a gray sitting here. I was sitting here, and the master was sitting here. Just three of us. And I'm looking at him, and we're talking about the other things. But most of our communication many times wasn't verbal, you know. You may call telepathic, but the telepathic is still, there are forms of communication experience beyond telepathic. This is the instance, this takes a split of the second, you know, and the master knows. He just nod the head and that's all.
So when I
There's no words needed. So we're sitting with the master, and I'm asking him, do you really can read people's mind like he, looking at people's forehead and actually see what they're exactly thinking? He said, yes, I can. And I was like, oh, I'm in real trouble now, I'm saying, because I've been with you so many times, I have those different thoughts.
Today is happy days. I want to,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, about a minute, I want to mention our master. When I met master, when I was young, I always wanted a father figure. Like, I wanted to be very close to my dad, but my dad wasn't like too close to me somehow. My dad had that total distance with me. Every time I tried to be close to my dad, I would sit back and say, I love you, Dad. I want to get some love from my dad. My dad always, nope, girls don't touch the father. So I'm kind of like always like, I wish I had a dad. But then when I met the master, I don't know what it was. On the stage, I just went there and the bodyguard said, don't touch master. But I automatically went to master. I said, Master, you're my dad. And I always wanted a daddy like you. I finally made you. So I'm so happy to.
Yes, that was an incredible experience.
It was so amazing.
We all had this experience. We all experienced that love being with him. This is something very unique. But please understand, this is just a drop.
And then the smell of master. I know master is exactly about, if my daddy was alive, he was about my daddy's age. So I held master, and the master's smell, I never forget, so clean. I told my husband, the smell of, I would never explain to you, express to you the smell, that clean, good smell that I gave. I'm usually not like that. I was giving master kiss and hug, and I said, I love you, master. I was doing so long. My husband, you're taking up the line. A lot of people were waiting line. So then I came and I met master like that at least how many times? 3 times. So I was the one, actually, I felt really bad because I took so long, but I did all that, and I was just holding master to the I never wanted to let it go, and I came down, and master present with a cane standing on the stage. It's just that feeling of love that I never felt. I said, that's my dad. Just like that, that's my dad. I always wanted. That's my dad.
Yeah.
Love your daddy. Daddy's everything.
We all have these experiences with Mr. Puri, especially I had an interview. Sometimes when you listen to his satsang, we had these waves of love. He was a totality of love. But let me explain something here. What we experience, it is just a part of that totality. There's other aspect. There's other aspect totally unknown unless you have experience of that. But the experience of this unconditional love, yes, that was. We all, from that point of view, there's no difference between each of us. If you were initiated by him, and one thing I would like to point out that this is eternal. What you have with the master, and what I have with the master, grace and pranay, this is eternal. This friendship is eternal. It can never be reversed. Never. There's no power in any universe, nothing which can intervene with that. So once you come to that kind of saint, this is eternal.
But when my life gets hard when I'm in medical school, I asked the medical master, 1,000 times. I said, Master, should I continue with my medical school so hard? I was keep asking the same question, but the master never judged me. It's just, it feels so comfortable. Master was just making it so smooth. Everything is like, I feel like I don't want to go back home. I just want to spend the time with him. I just want to be there. Then when I heard you guys spend so much time with Master, I wanted to see you guys in person. I'm like, what kind of people are they?
We are just like anybody else. We are just, we all brothers and sisters here. There's no like, oh, what are these people? Or no, we're no different than you. We are the same. We all brother. We all come from the same source. This is hard to explain, because we in the human nature we like to, oh, this guy is higher, or maybe lower, or let's make this guru, put him on the pedestal, and let's bow to him. The slave, the master and the slave kind of people falling into that. No, we all the same. I can tell you, all of us here come from the same source. There's literally no difference within the consciousness between any of us. We all there right now. So in other words, if you could see on the astral level, you will see us sitting there right now. If your consciousness allows you, Surah, to tap into that, you will literally see us sitting there. Without us sitting there, we could not be even able to sit here in this house. And so forth and so forth and so forth. Go as high as you want. We are all the same, including the master. There's no difference between you and the master. You are philosopher's stone, just like he's philosopher's stone. When you get to the region of Satlak, and when you have to the souls, still as individuals, to go forward, they all have to merge into one, including the master. He's not exempt from that. He has to merge into that just like you.
Just like 5-10 minutes on the stage or the appointment with him with the Lady Smith. And the Connie was knocking on the door because I was taking so long. Connie said, you gotta come out, but knocking on the door. So I was like, oh God, I gotta ask him and I gotta talk to him. But I had to come out. But I was thinking, you guys are like, you don't have time limit. You spend the time in the masters. We only do 5-10 minutes, 7 minutes most.
I have 2 minutes sometimes.
I will have a situations. I will go for interview, and they will say, well, we cannot have an interview. Then master will see me for 2 hours after that. So I wasn't worried about this.
Yeah, so we were always like under time conscious. And another thing I wanted to say, master, when I saw him through YouTube, it's from South Korea, and then I flew to Wisconsin and met him in person. Master looked so intelligent, so handsome, so not like YouTube. I cannot express. It's so clean kind of feel. So I told my husband, Master's smell. Did you smell Master? Because I'm very sensitive about smell. He smells so good, so clean, not like human old kind of man smell.
As a nurse, you take
Where's my Hollywood? Where are my Hollywood sticks? Where are my Hollywood stick? Hollywood sticks.
Cezary needs to smell good now.
Thank you for the compliment.
Oh, no.
No, I know how. What?
But human mind is very wicked. Human mind is very bad. Human mind is very bad because my background is Catholic, and of course I grew up as a Catholic.
We too.
Yeah.
We are Polish.
Yeah. So
he studied to be a priest.
Oh, really?
You are recorded, just so you know. You recording this?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Human mind is that's okay. Human mind is very wicked. I wanted to say, even then, I smell Master. I felt the Master. I felt his love. I felt so happy. I wouldn't go anywhere, but I would go to Master. But when I come back, human mind is so wicked. I forget all about that, then I'm doubting Master. I'm like, is he really perfect, true living Master? Because I am studying to become a medical doctor, or other people are passing the test. I am not. So am I? What am I? What Master said, but not working. What is this? You know what I mean? Like all this I experience. So I'm kind of like, so now Master passed away. So I said to my husband, I said, Jesus is the Son of God, and I'm gonna go back to church now. And I'm saying all this, and then my husband says, you got initiated. And he got initiated, and Anthony eventually got initiated too. Master gave initiation, so we all got initiated. But Master passed away, and now I'm doubting Master. Then I met you guys. I told my husband, I said, find somebody in Arizona. Somebody must true living Master somewhere. True living Master somewhere. And then Gerald said, I found Master's people in Arizona somewhere, Sedona. And I'm like, Sedona is our favorite place. And then he found it right away. He found it right away. He goes, I found the Cezary. And so I'm like, wow. So that was an awesome experience. But actually, I pray to God to find people like you guys.
There's nothing different about us than anything else, with maybe exception that Master that gave us a lot of time privately, but there are reasons for that. But for example, me personally, I'm very slow learner. I'm not like a spiritually inclined person to the degree. It took me a very long time to be with the Master even, and he explained that to us, that me and Grace, we waited for this very, very long time. So if I can do it with Grace, anybody can, because we're like, I'm like really slow. It takes me a very long time. And if I tell you how long, lifetimes, you know. So this just happened in life for me when it's a culmination of that with the Master. But the whole process within the mind, very long, millions, more than a million years. So it's not something, so when I say there's no rush, there's always not a lifetime. People are like, what? I want it now, I want it right now, in this singular lifetime. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Is it something across the board? No. Normally it takes, when you come to the Master, it takes 5 to 6 lifetimes.
Wow.
And in the case Mr. Puri explains, you know, because this is Great Master initiation, he will say 4 lifetimes or so. And I told that too. When I first saw Master in Synergia Ranch in New Mexico, I looked at him when I went for, it's a whole story about that. I don't want to, but anyway, I looked at him and he looked at me, just straight Trishti. And let me say something, there are different levels of Trishti too, you know. Most people are just so aware of one Trishti, or they may see Master eyes turn blue or green, or this aura around, you know. There are different experiences, you know. They can see different, you know, let's say blue, this is the astral color of the astral. So everybody has different experience. But when I look at him into his eyes, and he looked at me into my eyes, there was a recognition. And I didn't say a single word. And we were standing for a long time because I was the last one for Prashad. And I didn't even plan to go for Prashad. He said, I went to that, is there anyone else? And I'm just like last one. And he will not leave. They were all, everybody was packing, master's gonna leave. He will not leave. He will say again, is there anyone else in here?
Is it in US?
In US, in New Mexico, Synergy Alliance, there was a workshop they had.
That's where you guys met. Yes.
That's the first time I met him. And then he said, is there anyone else? And I'm just like, so I went to see him for Prashad. And I looked at him, Trish, and him. The eyes are gate to the soul, This is not a meditation technique, but this is like for if you initiate it. But anyway, well, we may have a workshop in that sense because anyway, so I'm looking into his eyes and this whole universe experience is just going through, and all I could do, I just took my arm like this, looking at him all this time, and I see people crying in the back on the side. I don't know why, So, but this love was totality of love. I took my hand out, and he took his, and we just shake the hands. Not single word, but there was total recognition because I was sent by the other master to see him. So it was total recognition, but I did not even say the word.